I'm Craig Fisher. I am the CMO at Cnect, and I'm here with Michael Nadeau, our CEO. And as usual, we're going to talk a little bit about technology and relationships in the candidate experience realm and how employers can have a better experience in hiring and building that close connection with job candidates. So, Michael, I have been talking to a lot of customers and prospects recently and showing off our beautiful little app that you and Dave have built. And I'm seeing an interesting opportunity for consolidation. So where employers might have a different application that they use for texting with candidates, and they might have a CRM, and then they might have kind of a clunky applicant tracking system. And then maybe they've even got another thing for referrals. You know, you can kind of do all of that with one fairly lightweight, but, very robust app in Cnect.
Yeah, well, first of all, there's nothing little about Cnect. Let's start there, because it's not little. Look, when we set out to solve this problem, I think the biggest thing we looked at was the workflow, the massive amount of workflow that goes into it. And you sit there and watch people and talent doing their job and moving from this application to this application to this application to, just the simplest things. And I always said, the largest ATS in the world it's Microsoft Office.
That's right.
Right. It really is the largest applicant tracking system in the world. And it still plays a massive role in trying to get people over the finish line. So how do we create a world where all of this stuff can move faster? And that's the most interesting thing. So it's been super fun the last few months, because we have been in front of some pretty large opportunities, and it's amazing how, irregardless of the size of a company, the problem's all the same. It doesn't matter if you're trying to hire 20 people a year or trying to hire 2,000. They're all the same. They have bigger budgets and bigger problems and more people in the mix. And that's, I think, one of the biggest sort of opportunities. It's not a flaw, it's just an opportunity. Anytime something could be better, that's an opportunity to do that. And I think what we've created is an opportunity for employers to create a better experience for the applicants that are coming in. And as you very well know, it's starting even earlier now. We're getting down into talking to school systems. We're talking to, not just talking to, but, colleges are saying, hey, this is what our students need to be using to go present themselves and to engage with employers in a different way. So, the use case is continuing to evolve, which is kind of the nicest thing about our technology, the way it's built and the way we're going to continue to build it. Every release that comes out has just got more automation, more features designed to make it better and easier for an applicant and streamline it for an employer.
All right. So speaking of that, we do continue to evolve and improve upon our automation capabilities and just some of the advanced features that this product has. So do you want to talk a little bit about what's coming up?
Yeah, well, we had a sort of not a breakthrough, but an interesting analogy that came up the other day, and it was the resume. We used to talk about it's the microwave. The microwave came and changed the entire game, right? And so resumes are almost like checks. That's what we see. They're like, who has a checkbook anymore? Actually, somebody asked me to write them a check. Like, right. We don't even write checks. Like, how do you do that? My kids probably won't even know what a check is. And that's what we really feel like a resume is becoming. It's going to become the check. It's going to be so outdated because there's so much more that people can do. So we're constantly looking at how we can help people tell their story better, how they can, prep and present their best self. And that part has been super. Actually, it's been really fun to see the whole process transform. You and I actually looked at someone the other day, and I just looking at all the engagement that happened automatically, all this stuff. And I'm reading through what she's done. I got to listen to, and she answered 9 questions over a series of time. And it was only 3 or 4 days. But it showed that she was really interested in being here. And the amount of data that I was able to consume was game breaking. So a lot of the automation that we're putting in place is designed to make the process go quicker. And the hardest behavior change that I'm noticing is people want to revert back to the way they used to do it.
Right.
Or they want to go, hey, let's just bring that person in. Well, why don't you let the process do its thing? And what you'll find is the people that actually complete the process are the ones that have the most likelihood of being a good fit for your organization. And so it's hard changing that level of behavior, but our innovation will never stop. We're going to continue to look at it and say, hey, if we could make this step easier. And the cool thing is the machine's getting smarter. And it's getting smarter and smarter every day. It's starting to learn your behavior and the types of questions you like to ask and the types of answers you like to see. So it's able to write better summaries for you. And there's some really neat stuff coming out over the next few months.
Yeah, I love the fact that instant engagement, as you talked about, and continuous engagement is really important for candidates to understand that they're talking to real people. They're actually getting responses and real time and quick time from employers versus the void that they're used to. And what I hear from employers is they really like the fact that we are measuring engagement. And so part of the matching that we do, it's not just about skills first. It's also about, are they engaged? Are they interested? Right? How committed are they to this process? And employers think that's pretty slick.
Yeah, the likelihood, right? What's the likelihood that this person's really engaged? And I've seen examples where someone applies for a job and they're a referral. So every time it's a referral, everyone wants to cut the process up. Like, oh, just no, have them come in and go through the process. And you can tell really early on, right, just through how they engage with the system, if they're really real or not. Doesn't mean they're not a good person. It doesn't mean they're not maybe a great fit, but you can almost predict based on how quickly they respond, what their likelihood of actually coming across the line. And I've seen some where I've literally written down, there's no way this is going to happen. Right. It's not going to happen unless I'm completely fooled based on the response times and the behavior here. She's just window shopping. Yeah. And she doesn't really, she's not, it doesn't mean she wasn't a great person. She was fantastic. Right. But that level of analytics, I think is helping us predict better, faster matches and where you should spend your time. Is this person actually going to show up the first day? Are they really the person they say they are? So that is really, I think that's a huge component of what we're trying to accomplish. But the other side of all this automation is giving people their time back, right? And a lot of people in hiring have other things they need to be doing throughout the day, right? Yeah. It's not their full-time job. And if it is their full-time job, I talked to a guy just the other day, and I was being kind when I said this because he's got a pretty big talent department. I said, I bet 80% of all of the work that your recruiters are doing is administrative. And I was being kind because I didn't want to tell him I thought it was more like 90 to 95%. And he goes, oh, it's way higher than 80%. Yeah. And I said, so think about it. You've got people that are processing administrative tasks 90% of the day. And I literally can 10x, if not 100x, their productivity.
Absolutely.
Through automation.
That's right. It's interesting because, like you were saying, old recruiters like us, like you and I, can kind of tell in our gut if someone's going to come through or not. But that is not possible at scale, right? There's just not time to take the time to feel into every applicant that comes across, what their intentions are. And so, building software that helps you do that at scale for volume hiring is kind of amazing. And really, we're seeing it work for professional services and accounting firms, across the board, not really industry specific. There's a use case for that.
Yeah, the thing about scale, I think that the sort of misnomer is this really works well if you're hiring lots of folks. Well, I've got a portfolio client, it's a portfolio company of mine that needed to hire somebody. Right? They don't have a massive hiring. They probably hire a few times a year. And unfortunately, when you think about the sources for hiring, obviously you try your referrals and we post things on social media and we do all the things we're supposed to be doing. But, unfortunately, sometimes we got to go to the market. And the market is full of a lot of people. Some of them aren't even real, but, so all of a sudden, you're talking about a small business that just needs to hire somebody. And I mean, probably 500 or 600 applications came in over a 2-week period.
Right.
To the point where we just, okay, shut that off because there's plenty of volume here. And the amount of unresponsive people was industry norm, 45%. People didn't respond. The amount of unqualified people that just didn't really have the baseline skills, all of that stuff, every single person got interacted with.
Mm-hmm.
And the offer letter went out the other day. I saw it. And it happened inside of,
Right.
But it wasn't how fast it happened. It was how little human time it took to go into it.
Well, and in today's market, and this is interesting because that's a different kind of scale, right? Everyone's getting a lot of resumes from various sources that aren't accurate and aren't really that interested. And how do you have a good experience for all of those people? I mean, it's virtually impossible, but
it was. It's not anymore.
That's right.
It's not impossible because Cnect removes bias, which is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
It treats everybody exactly the same. So every single person that comes through the door, however they come into the door, is greeted, and it's greeted in the tone that the employer wants to set forth.
Right.
And so our tone when we're hiring people is, hey, thank you so much for being here. We're really glad you're here, and we're excited to get to know you. And right away, like within minutes, we want them to know that. We want them to know that story, that we are excited that they chose to submit their information to us. And so we take a lot of care and feeding in that. And look, think about having 100 people come in the door, or applicants come in. How are you going to properly nurture that lead, right? So you talk about old sales 101. You got to call a prospect 7 times. You got to call them an email, call them an email. Well, how is it any different with a candidate? Well, it's impossible to do. How are you going to call 100 people? How are you going to email all of them? How are you going to follow up with them? How are you going to send all the way through? You've got to use automation. You got to use workflows. They're like marketing campaigns that you're sending down. Then all of a sudden, the real buyer comes to life. It's the same thing in marketing, right? You get leads in the door, and you're trying to curate those leads and find out who the actual people are that are ready to buy a car. Yeah. These are the ones. These are the gold leads. And so that's what you're using it for. It's not automation to, pick people out, or it's truly just automation to make yourself better. And I think the biggest benefit of Cnect outside of scale and all that kind of stuff is reputational respect, but you actually can start creating a candidate pool that makes sense.
You could create your own candidate pool,
Your own candidate.
private, let's call it a LinkedIn style or universe of candidates that is private to you, always private to the candidate. And what's interesting is we talk about automation, we talk about automated response and automated engagement, but also as the employer, you can speak directly to the candidate in a bidirectional manner where the candidate can respond to you with a video. They can include an attachment that you can text back and forth with each other. It's just like being in Slack or Teams or any modern kind of social app that is, private and risk averse for employers, where you've got this real interesting and intimate conversation going on where you can set up screening questions and interviews and everything the application process is generally missing.
Yep. And the other thing that's so interesting, people will ask me, well, do the adults do this? Basically just meaning older people like myself, are those folks going to engage? And so this morning I'm driving my daughter to school, and I'm not proud of the fact that she's got one of those social apps on her phone that I lost the battle on. But, I don't quite understand why we need to send messages that disappear. But anyway, so I look over and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is that? She's like, oh, she just sent me a picture. And I'm like, yeah, but you saw her yesterday. Like, you're going to walk into class. Like, why are you sending pictures of each other? And she's like sending a picture back. It's been programmed into their DNA.
Yeah.
She's 13 years old.
Right.
She'll be in the workforce before we know it.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is if you looked at the demographic users of those apps, they're not sitting in the kid zone.
No, there are plenty of adults.
There are plenty of adults.
Yeah.
Like, it is unbelievable when you start looking at the numbers. But what does that really tell you? It's just how we communicate today.
That's right.
Right? Like, we sit down the hall from each other, and I texted you, hey, are we still on for, like, it's just what we expect. And that's the way the world works. Yet in hiring, we haven't done that. We're not using those things. And the companies that have done a really good job of, integrating text messaging, there's some cool companies out there that do that, and they integrate some quick things. It's great, but it's just another another tool that I got to manage. It's another, item on the menu that I got to deal with, as opposed to just doing it the same every single time, the way people want to consume their data. And that's the exciting thing about Cnect, is the applicability. We've got the most diverse client base I've ever seen, from landscaping companies to accounting firms to racing teams to, it's all over the place because it works for everyone. And then you also look at the different market segments: schools, campuses, early careers, late career. It's quite fascinating. We've got a group that wants to use this for high school kids that are going into the trades, and there's just some really cool applicability. And we've talking to some schools about using it for admissions. Some private schools that want to use it for admissions, or colleges that want to rethink their admissions process because they're trying to get to know people and authenticate them.
Well, and this is pretty much the same process. You could use this to set up virtually anything that requires signing up and communication.
Yeah. The applicability of the platform and the way it was built is, there's no reason you won't see, Cnect for admissions, for internships, for scholarships. Just different ways to look at data. And I think, I don't know, a few weeks ago, I read something that one of the biggest concerns colleges are having now is authenticating, what people are writing, because everyone's just going on to, these AI forums or ChatGPT or Gemini or wherever and just saying, write me this. And so you really don't know if the person really wrote it. Now, inside of our algorithm, we've been running some stuff in our back end, to start piloting some things where we can actually tell if the machine wrote it or not. And so, ways to just authenticate and validate folks. And it's kind of like the old sales question. You ask a salesperson how much they make, they will tell you an answer that will most times, like 110% of the time, be false. It'll be highly inflated. Okay. So I always ask that question. I say, hey, by the way, part of our hiring process here is we verify income. So we'll just want to see your salary and commission statements and stuff like that. So how much did you make last year on salary versus comp? And I've been doing that for a long time because I want to get to the ultimate truth, not their inflated vision of what they've been, or, well, I've been waiting on this, and if this deal would have closed, great. Were you a top performer or not? Okay. And so when you just think about that, we're constantly trying to verify data, right? Did they go to school? Do they have a license? Do they have these skills? And companies don't give references anymore. Right. And so it's just harder and harder to, get to the source of truth. But the one truth that everyone has is their desire, right? And how they articulate their story and how they answer those questions. And so automating that is really giving people really ultimately what they want, which is their time back. Everyone wants control of their own time.
That's right.
They don't want to come in and sit down for 2-3 hour interview with 5-6 different people and answer the same questions when they can just do it from the comfort of their own, home and their environment. And everyone's comfortable doing this stuff now. So
right.
It's just the way of the future.
Well, we're going to give some lucky individuals at the upcoming HR Technology Conference an opportunity to try it out. If you come to our booth, and we'll put the number on this video. If you come to our booth, you'll have an opportunity to apply to a special job that we'll create that is basically signing up for a demo of our product. And in doing so, you'll get added to a group that is eligible for cash prizes. This is fabulous stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
And it takes about, 10 seconds to create a profile and apply to a job with our platform. So easy for everyone out there to experience what a really cool digital profile you can build in literally seconds.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It's fun to see people use the platform. It's interesting. We spend most of our time showing employers how the platform works and what it can do and all that kind of stuff. But the really cool thing is just seeing people use it, say, wow, this is different. And it is different. It's wildly different than anything they've ever done, even though it's quite simply dragging and dropping their resume and building a digital profile. But the art of being able to separate yourself. Like, why would you ever want to sit in this stack of resumes when you could be here, right in front of hiring managers? So I always say, and we struggle with this, because we certainly believe that Cnect is for everyone. Everyone should have a Cnect profile. But it's almost like the people that are in Cnect are better. They're better. Like, they're the ones that sit in front of the class. Like, the ones that really want a job, the people you really want to hire, they're using Cnect. Right. Because they're in there going, hey, I'm Michael Nadeau, and they're talking about themselves, and they're the ones that care about their time and care about telling their story. I mean, I would tell you the last 15 profiles I've looked at, which means in order to get to me as a finalist in this particular job that we have open, they've got to do quite a bit of stuff. The last 15 that I've looked at, they've all been all-stars. They've literally all been all-stars. Now, is that coincidence, or were the ones that weren't, did they fall off? Right? Did they fall off because like, wow, they're asking some pretty tough questions, or I'm not really sure, whatever it is, I can tell you that the quality of folks that is coming across my desk is, they're all-stars.
Well, you're giving people an opportunity to properly opt out, right?
That's right.
And those who eventually opt in are, the ones you want to see, and they're the ones that want to see you. So I love that process, and I love the fact that you're able to just send them a message directly back and say, hey, this is great. Can you clarify that?
Yeah. And, I've been sending some messages out after watching all these and saying, hey, thank you so much. It's been really great getting to know you. Do you have any questions for me? And just introducing myself to them and like, hey, what can I answer for you? Before you come in here, what can I do for you now? Kind of turning it back. It's funny, a few of them are like, no, I'm good. They feel like they're getting enough of the story. But and there's just the inevitable truth that we have today is we live in a world where we have more data than we've ever known to do with, and it's coming in droves. So how do you swim through the masses?
You have to synthesize it, right? I mean, I hear a lot that AI is really good at summarizing, right? It's not necessarily the best at inventing, but it's fantastic at summarizing. So you give it some complex data, and it can tell you the short version of what you need to know. And Cnect seems to be giving hiring managers more of the data that they need to know in order to make a good decision.
Yep. Well, here's my first rant on AI and what's about to happen. It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
And not in a good way.
Right.
I've seen more examples of it being wrong. Why? Because these open AI sources are open. They're being flooded with all sorts of information. Not all of it is right.
That's right.
Like literally, I was in one of the modules. I won't tell on which one it was, and asked it a question and was trying to create some formula or something. And I literally was like, no, that's actually wrong. And I typed that. I'm actually, you're wrong. It said, let me try again. And I was like, nope, try one more time. And it was wrong. And I'm like, it was a very simple Excel formula that I was just trying. I forgot what it was and typed it in. And so what I love about our modules is they're closed, right? They are in terms of open AI, but they're just learning from your data. And so they're actually getting smarter based on the data that we're feeding. It's not open to the world that's coming in there. So, AI it's a scary proposition, but you have to use it. And if there are ways to use it where it makes life better and allows you to do more things faster, and ultimately there is no downside to our platform. Zero. Like every single person gets met with, you get better information and everything goes faster, and you allow your staff to actually do the things they need to do quicker. There's zero downside to that. I haven't seen a platform yet, and again, if you're still, taking resumes, maybe you can put them on the shelf next to your checkbook, in a few years, because, ACH is here.
Yeah, that's right.
That's just the world we live in.
CH is here.
Yeah.
Everybody knows how to use a QR code now. It's easy. Thank you, COVID. And, it's the simplest thing in the world to build and deliver a digital profile that actually makes sense and looks great and is ATS friendly.
Yeah. I remember, I think it was last summer, we went somewhere and it was some event, and I was leaving and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have any cash. And I felt mortified because I was at this hotel and I knew they would bring my car around, and I didn't have $5 to give the guy. He comes up and I said, man, I'm embarrassed. I just don't have any cash on me. And he was like, oh, no, sorry, I have Venmo.
Yeah.
I was like,
cash
what? And so I literally Venmoed the guy on the spot. So look, the world's changing. This whole concept of sending over some paperwork into a company is yesterday's news, because it's here to stay. So,
all right, you heard it here. Michael Nadeau, thank you for joining me today, and we will talk to you again soon.
Great. Thanks, Greg.